Morning everybody, welcome back. Saturday shop day as usual. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Today I'm going to try to wrap up the 750 Pro Street build. There's just a handful of little things still left to do. Couple Zeus fasteners on the body. Need to pop the rear wheel out, install a spacer in the sprocket hub that we didn't have originally when we put it in. That's here now, so we can pop that in. Need to do a little bit of machining on the brake hanger, countersink and all that stuff for a bolt for the brake stay arm mount. We need to machine, finally got the material in for our speed rings on our carburetors, so we need to machine those from scratch. That's kind of a big job. And the last thing, well, not the last thing, but another machining job we need to do on our quick access clutch cover with the hydraulic slave cylinder. We need to machine some O-ring grooves. So in order to do that, we're going to have to grind a special O-ring cutter. I'll show you guys kind of how that came out to fit this O-ring material. So I'll show you all that stuff. We need to nut and bolt the bike, and I need to do some programming on our 1-gauge system to try and get our digital dash all working. So now that I'm saying all this stuff, I just don't know if we'll get it all done. I am not a computer guy, so this programming deal, I don't know how that's going to go. I may save you guys from watching me struggle with that and just show you the results when it's done rather than watching me fumble around with a computer like an idiot. So anyway, appreciate you guys being here as always, and we're gonna get to work. Alright guys, so went ahead and started. First things first, we got our high-speed steel tool bit cut. It's probably a little hard to see this, but I'm hoping you can catch it. So what we have is, I buy this bulk O-ring material. It comes like, I think this is a 10-foot piece. We just use this instead of having to have an exact diameter O-ring. We can feed this into the material, and we put a little dot of super glue at the ends where they meet, and works well, so you have a nice O-ring seal on a surface. So this is 70 thousandths, this material. So I ground this cutter to about 68 thousandths, and this is a little test piece I did. You can kind of see here where it cuts the ring. We cut that 40 thousandths deep, that way we have some O-ring protrusion, and then you can see that you can just kind of start to snap this O-ring in, and then we'd cut it off there. Obviously I don't want to really waste this because this is just a test piece, but come on, there you go. So you can see where the O-ring protrudes up, and that'll give us a nice sealing surface. So we're gonna go ahead and pop off our quick access cover, head out to the lathe and cut our 2 O-ring grooves, one for where the cover seals to the cover itself, the 2 halves, and then another where the slave cylinder seals to the cover. Alright, so we got our slave cylinder and our push rod out. So there we go, we got our cover. We'll go out to the lathe and get these 2 grooves machined. So we're out here on the lathe. Got to go ahead and get the jaws flipped around, being as the diameter of the quick access cover is larger than the inside jaws will do. So we get it locked into our outside jaw and go ahead and cut our small O-ring groove for the slave cylinder. Got our groove cut there. We're going to go ahead and flip it around. Go ahead and line it up for our large O-ring groove. That way we'll have a nice seal between the quick access cover and the main clutch cover. Really 2 pretty simple operations. Critical part is having the tool the right size. Alright, so we got our top marked. We're going to put our joint at the top, just even though it gets super glued, and it should still seal, just in case. Less likelihood of a leak if you have your joint at the top. So you just work your material down into your groove. Like to use a nice brand new razor blade. The other thing you can do is, as you're putting this in the groove, if you slightly stretch the O-ring, it thins out just a touch, goes into the groove a little better, and then you let it relax back in there and it kind of swells up and grabs on. It really isn't terribly hard to do. It's just you got to have your groove pretty close. You know, pretty close to dimension, slightly undersized, and that's really critical that your tool's the right size. There's not really, I mean, I guess you could make your tool undersized and then machine your groove width in a couple of passes, but it's such a small dimension to begin with. I feel like that would be really pretty tricky. So I like to use a nice brand new razor blade, get a square cut. I get these little liquid super glues at Harbor Freight. Get like a pack of them for $2. That way you can just use what you want out of the pack and throw it away, because it's going to be all dried up and screwed up the next time you get in here. So there we go. Let that super glue dry for a second, because we're going to flip it over and we don't want to glue our O-ring to the table. And we'll repeat the same process again, making sure to start your O-ring at the top to minimize the chance of leaking. Seem to have gotten a little touch better groove on this side than the other side, maybe just because of the diameter of it, but the O-ring's going in a little easier. So yeah, a little super glue. And push that in the final bit. Make sure you don't glue your finger to it. And let it dry for a minute. Just sit it on top of here. Let that dry so that we don't super glue it to our cover. Alright, so now that we got that set, we can go ahead and reinstall our cover. Well, then you should use a swing arm frame.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh.
Why, do you have some?
Yeah.
You have enough? You have plenty?
I don't have any. I have one that's dismantled.
What about the?
But you really need like a whole bike anyway if you want like a shovel head motor and stuff.
Yeah. Do you have a whole bike?
Yeah.
But you have shovel head motors.
I don't have any loose motors.
Really?
Every motor I have goes to a bike.
Oh, well that's okay. You have a shovel head bike with a title.
Correct.
And it's a swing arm frame.
Several.
Okay, several.
Yeah.
So if everything works out, I won't.
Yeah. So
you
that
won't run out of bikes.
No.
Okay. That's all I was concerned with.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pull this back wheel out, modify our brake hanger. Also, we're going to install our sprocket hub spacer, which keeps the sprocket hub bearing in line once you tighten the axle down.
Especially for what you got into it. Oh, this is the Amal. Who is this for?
Chuck.
Oh, he's doing twin carbs on his bike?
Yeah.
Where's the other one?
In a box there somewhere.
Who? Oh, they're made in England.
Yeah, they're Amals. They're Amals.
They're Amals, they're not Amal?
They're not Amal.
It's a very small carburetor. Size-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a 26 millimeter or something.
It's an 1 3/8. Which is like 30 millimeter, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I've messed with enough little carburetors on like old dirt bikes that notice that it's not real big, but it's cool as shit.
Yeah.
How much, John?
I think it was like $700 for the pair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool carb.
I put it in as 420 and I...
Alright, I got our sprocket hub in. I gotta cut this down a little bit because it was protruding into where the sprocket inner hub rides, so jump out on the lathe and cut this down real quick. Alright, so we got our spacer shortened up here. That'll go back in the wheel, seat on the bearing. And the other thing we gotta do, because of how close the brake hanger ends up with the rotor, I'm gonna countersink this back so I can use a countersunk bolt, which will stick out as a stud, and we'll put a nut on it for the brake stay. Alright, so we got our brake stay mounted, we got our wheel back together. Gonna go ahead and slide our brake caliper back on, mount it up, and we'll have our back end complete. Alright, next up we got to get our rest of our Zeus springs for our tail section installed so that we can get our tail section on and off easily. So we'll take our seat off. Alright, so we got our correct springs. We're just going to pop rivet them in place. That way we don't have to reach through anymore to get our Zeus fasteners installed. A good box work.
I forgot it at home.
Oh, well, you still have it though. You didn't like lose it.
No.
Yeah, so no big deal. Last thing we got to do on here is we got our Zeus fastener in the back here. Pop down our under tray underneath the tail section here. If you can see, you can't, but anyway, we're gonna mark that. We'll drill that and put one more Zeus fastener in the tail back here to keep it from sliding side to side.
Yeah, he's
made
that suggestion. Yeah.
Like he came up with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, aren't we supposed to do that with all of them?
Yeah, I didn't think Let's get back to work.
Bye.
No, you ain't done shit.
Alright, so we got our tail section mounted up. We got our Zeus fasteners riveted in place. And we are slowly getting this thing picked away. Alright, next up, we're going to make our velocity stack-ish speed ring deal. So I'm going to grab a piece of paper, we'll jot down some quick notes, and then head out to the lathe. Alright, so our inside bore is going to be 2.165. Our outside diameter, we will go 2.865. Our overall thickness, I think we'll go 1.25 inches. And then the rest we can just do by eye. We'll shape them up and all that, just however we decide. So, got our simple little notes here. We'll take this out to the lathe and get to work. We're going to get started here on our part. Our 3-inch chunk of aluminum. We're facing it off. Gonna go ahead and center drill, bore it out to 1.5 inches with a twist drill. Then we'll bore it out to our final dimension with our boring bar. Once we get that done, we will cut our outside dimension, which is really just an arbitrary size we chose for looks. Once we get down to our outside dimension, we'll adjust our compound slide and begin cutting a taper from the outside down towards the inside. Really just a cosmetic to have it fit onto the carburetor better. Once we have our taper cut, we will go ahead and put a radius on the face and get the stack parted off. Once it's parted off, we change over to the mill. We'll get it center drilled and drilled for a set screw.
And there's usually a straggler. This is this week's.
Alright, we got our power ring velocity stacks, whatever you want to call them, installed. Obviously these screws are way too long. I gotta order some set screws, 1030 or 1024, but I had these screws. I just want to pop these on and oh, I got them the other way. I made one a little shorter than the other one, the outside. Made it a little tighter in just so that the ends of the carburetors kind of line up a little bit, but and there you have it. I think those look cool. Add a nice little finishing touch to the end of the carburetor instead of just a open carburetor. Alright guys, that's going to be a wrap for today. Got most of what we wanted to accomplish finished. We got our velocity stacks done. We got our Zeus fastener stuff done. We got our O-ring grooves machined and our quick access clutch cover done. Got our rear wheel and rear brake set up all buttoned up, so we are getting really close. I know I keep saying next weekend we're going to get it down, next weekend we're going to get it down, but we're getting closer every weekend, and these Saturdays have been real busy, so I catch lots of interruptions and stuff. But anyway, real happy with the progress. I hope you guys are enjoying this bike. Next week might be back on the GS build. Hopefully either tomorrow or Monday I'll be able to get in here and get a couple hours in on the Indy and Larry tribute bike. Alright guys, so anyway, thanks for being here. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Check out all our other videos. Lots of cool content on there. Don't forget to let us know if you are working on a project and having some trouble and need some help. Let us know what kind of info you're looking for. We'll see if we can't come up with a video to help you guys out with that. Again, you know, we always want to produce these videos that people enjoy watching. So, thanks for being here, and we hope to see you next time at Gatti's Garage.